right. Thank you very much for coming. So, we're going to start, of course, with item 1, which is to receive apologies for absence.
I haven't received any apologies.
No. Okay. So, moving on to item 2 then, to note declarations of members' interests. No. No declarations. So, swiftly on to item 3, to confirm and sign the minutes of the Public Services Committee meeting held on the 4th of November 2025. So, do you have a chance to review? Good. That's fine. Everyone else happy with that? Second?
Yeah.
Okay, then, so all in favour? Okay, any not? Abstention?
Yeah.
2 abstentions. Thank you. Submissions.
Thank you very much.
Right, item 4, public participation. This is a period where we ask members of the public to ask questions or submit comments in relation to published agenda items. Do we know if we have any?
We haven't received any.
No? Okay, then item 5, to note the year-to-date financial position for the Public Services Committee.
So you all have a copy. Don't have any real highlights to go through here. Everything seems to be running to plan. There are some areas where we haven't spent budget yet, which I'll be going through later, and there is a little bit of reorganisation. Been through the notes where budget has been slightly misallocated, but we'll round that up. I think it's to do with using earmark reserves. We need to just check some coding, but there's nothing there that has jumped out that concerns myself at the moment. Do you have any queries on that?
Yes.
Yeah, it says here that out of a budget just £50 short of £500,000. That up to now we spent just short of 215,000, so 295,000 yet to spend. What's the likely outturn? What we'll actually spend maybe in the fourth financial year?
Yes.
Well advancing the year.
Yeah. So within that, obviously, the Ranger service is a big chunk, and we're only halfway through in terms of invoices there. The same with the parks. I've not got the latest journal with payments, so I will check that, and if members would like, I'll send out a breakdown to reassure you where we are on that expenditure. Similarly, green spaces, we have a budget of 30,000, which hasn't been allocated purely because that was designed to create an earmarked reserve. Therefore, that's not been allocated. Hoardings and let me just go through it. Hoardings and frontages, that's an earmarked reserve figure, so don't know why that's actually in this amount here. Where we have some differences, sorry, it's not making sense this. We've got some numbers in here like public realm, which should be allocated differently. I think the best thing I can do is give you that breakdown and give you the forecast.
So it's basically then you're saying it comes down bills which haven't yet been presented.
Yes, absolutely.
Big,
yeah,
large ones.
Yes.
Notably, of course, earmarks.
Yeah. And then the public realm, which is
of course, clean and food budget which haven't been spent.
Yes.
So I mean, if you add those up, that probably counts for them. It's just sitting there 10 months or so into the year.
Yeah.
So some of the bills are submitted quite late.
They are, or they've just not appeared in these figures yet.
Yes.
So this was from the 15th of January. So it's possible that some are bound up in a request.
Thank you.
So we're happy to note. Yes, thank you. So, item 6 is to receive an update on progress and consider matters related to the business delivery plan for 24-25. There is quite a considerable amount of considerations on this one, so I recommend we take each report in turn and then that particular consideration before we move on to the next point. If that's all right. So please go ahead.
Thank you very much. So there are a number of decisions to be made, and I draw attention to cleaner crew, allotments, where we're looking for a delegation to allocate budget. A project, the suspended display project, which is to come out of earmarked reserves, and I'm looking for some guidance from committee on this. A project, the Heritage Light project, which again I'm going to recommend is undeliverable and we remove from our plans. And then some requests for approvals to spend budget on items for the Rangers. Then to look at two recent submissions. One is the version 2, so the revised public art for the bus station, and the other is to look at the Market Square submissions for the public realm. You can see on the delivery plan, I've highlighted those areas in whether either sort of green, amber or yellow in terms of where they are, and that summarises where we'll go in this meeting. So the first point is around the green spaces, parks and play areas. We now have the sinking fund of £30,000. I'm calling it the sinking fund. It's in the budget as £30,000 to enable future improvements to parks and play areas. So the budget line was intended to start an earmarked reserve, and it is suggested here that this recommendation is made to council in readiness for the year-end accounting, because I know the council will be looking at all those figures. In terms of the Brookhouse Drive or Pebblebrook Park, the line markings have been laid. We're waiting for the installation team to commence with the toddler play equipment and the work on the main field. We're still waiting for suitable conditions after spending a lot of money on drainage. What we don't want to do is then crush that because it's so wet. We've also asked the contractor or the consultant who recommended that to actually do a survey and come back with their opinion on the drainage itself. So the contractor's just waiting for that dry window of weather. If they start to dig now, it could cost us quite a lot in remediation later on, which seems unnecessary. At the last meeting, we discussed a date to look at the planting scheme, and Councillor Coyley and I met with the parks team to look at that, and I'm just waiting for their plan to come through. And the design boards should be going up to inform the community or refresh them on what's happening with the site. CCTV options are out of the current scope of works, but there is the scope when we look at CCTV to develop that further. And then, so that's the parks or green spaces elements.
So for the following consideration for that, oh yes, please.
Sorry, just a couple of things on that, if I may. Back in the summer, of course, we had the problem of the damage at Derby Docks, didn't we?
Yes.
At the place there, and I understand that's all been dealt with now, hasn't it? What's the history been like? Other than that, what sort of things has the ranger who's been dealing with this found with the park? Has there been anything specific that he has to pick up, or?
So he does spend time at each park litter picking, clearing edges around play areas to keep them looking tidy, removing moss and weeds, and we do take one of the rangers in to spray for weeds. The ranger who does the majority work spray for moss. He's been repainting equipment and sort of refreshing it, and he's just come up with a list of the parks he'd like to tackle next when the weather's good. What we have found, it seems that because of the attention they're receiving, each time he goes, there's less to do.
Right.
So there seems to be a positive impact. There are a couple of parks that are short on bins, and that's something we've raised with Cheshire East. And it may be that we need to look, perhaps in the next meeting, just have a look at that budget and see if we've got something left in the parks budget to actually buy a few bins. We would have to service them. I don't think that would be an issue. We certainly don't have the support of Cheshire East to put in any more bins, and they don't have the ability to empty them. But if we're prepared to do it, that shouldn't be an issue. But other than that, it really is just painting and keeping an eye.
If I may, can I, yeah. So are the other little play areas in the town also being picked up in addition to the pocket parks?
I think they are.
Right.
Everything that we have listed as a play area is being dealt with.
All right. And I suppose my final thing on that then is, and you put it in the Brookhouse Drive Park bit about what other considerations we should have about CCTV going forward on the parks, and there's 2 more of the pocket parks will be finished during the first half of this year, Westminster Street and Valleybrook.
Absolutely. So at every project group meeting for those parks, so those parks are being managed through funding that Cheshire East is responsible for, the Towns Fund. But at every meeting, I have raised the CCTV issue, and subsequent to us paying for the installation at Samuel Street, there has been a noticeable reduction in ASB, and also we haven't been receiving complaints about ASB where residents have raised those concerns. So it seems to be having an impact. So it is being considered within the scope of those projects, plus Jubilee Gardens, which will have a camera now that the mug has been approved. Again, I requested a camera knowing that there was some funding, Safer Streets funding, and that was agreed, and the camera's waiting to be installed.
Right. Smashing. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Quilly.
I just noticed on the agenda is actually item 8, is it? Yeah, item 8. Where's item 8 is about sport awareness. Sport state for the play area. Where's that going to be sitting within this discussion?
So we're looking. Yeah, so we're looking at next year's plan on item 7.
Right.
But within that item, we are waiting for a report on the condition of parks, and I believe there is a connection between item 8 and item 7 in terms of how and when we address that and when we look at it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Hopwood.
I am a park ranger. I assume that the first call on that person's time is those parks where we've invested.
He goes to all of them. He has spent historically a lot of time at Leighton Brook because of the needs there. I have to say we've had less vandalism, we've had less issues this year than last year. So, but he has a rota and he goes to all of them. He has a checklist of things to do for each park.
Yes, I mean, obviously the reason for us invested £100,000 in the pocket parks. Excuse me. So plainly, this earmark reserve, the £30,000 is intended basically not as a maintenance fund, but as a replacement fund.
Yeah.
Essentially. So that in that respect, it's the condition of the parks that where we paid for the improvement is of particular interest.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's I dare mention. Excuse me. You just mentioned Councillor Stewart. Just mentioned CCTV and mentioned Westminster Park. That's not one. That's Town's Fund.
Yes.
Funded improvements. It's the Brit, and I think Samuel Street as well.
That was funded by the Town Council.
So, any CCTV provision, presumably, the priority would be on those parks where we have invested. Right?
Absolutely. At this moment, it would appear that there is funding within the envelope of the town's funding to include CCTV in those pocket parks and the new ones.
Really?
Yes,
Including Westminster.
yes,
It's very interesting.
yeah. So it's still obviously subject to that consideration, but that's what it's sounding like.
Does anyone have any more questions regarding the parks? So with the following consideration with regards to 13.1 on the item list, parks and spaces, to recommend to council the budget line 320 green spaces and 4179 play area improvement scheme is moved to an earmark reserve at year end to be invested in the future play area improvement schemes as appropriate. Do you need any? Yeah.
I'll propose that.
Pros, we've got a second. Thank you. All in favour? That's yes. So our next one is crew rangers.
Yes. Sorry, I'll briefly mention it. So floral schemes. With the rangers have been very busy planting 4,000 bulbs, and I hope that they survive the winter. We're looking at some other suggestions for improvements as we go along towards the year end, but the majority of the budget is already spoken for in that contractors and additional purchases. So Ranger service, we have a vacancy for a team member. At the last minute, the person who was offered the role changed their mind. Within the next, well, I was told a week ago, in the next 2 weeks, we should have an agency temporary operative, and the advertisements will go out shortly for a permanent role, permanent post. So the Rangers will be very busy, and you'll see on the appendix, I've got some images of some of the work that they've been doing. Post Christmas, they've been doing quite a lot of clearing up of the sort of excess waste from bins, and the missed collections post Christmas. So they've been trying to relieve that issue and getting bins straight in quite a few areas. They've been doing some work in Victoria Gardens, and I've shown some images there of some of the work that they've done in that space. We've just had a delivery of some new timbers, which are plastic sort of resin timbers, to replace the old wood ones, and they'll give us a spruce up as well. They've done a lot of work on clearing paths, etc., particularly areas like stretches of Sydney Road, which takes a number of days and a lot of back-breaking work to cut back the overgrowth. So we do have a suggestion here, and it's a request of the Rangers. It's a piece of equipment they're used to using in previous roles to help with that, which is a mechanical edging tool, which would make their life a lot easier. Similarly with the parks, the Ranger has been spending a great deal of time there doing tidying of areas. But what we've noticed is, obviously there's a more restrictive mowing regime now in the parks generally. Within the play areas, the grass is getting a bit long, and we'd like him to be able to just take a mower along and finish off the job nicely, and within those play areas, not the whole parks because it wouldn't be big enough, but to have a small mower that he can then hop out and do some extra bits of tidying. So I've got two proposals there for purchase of those pieces of equipment, and also £500, which was for ramps to actually be able to load safely those pieces of equipment. Still need to spec those, it's subject to approval, but they would be spec'd to take the load and be the most appropriate to fit in the van. And I think that's it for Rangers.
Any questions? Okay. Good. So in this regards to this, then basically the consideration is approval to purchase the following subject to best value and suitability. So that's the powered lawn edger, ramp to allow safe movement of equipment from the van. I say the maximum total for above items is £1,200 for equipment repairs, and the powered lawn mower maximum value of £1,500 from the play area maintenance line. Could I have a proposer? You get a seconder?
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you. So all in favour? Yes. Thank you. So it's cleaner crew.
So cleaner crew, some members may be aware of this. The project has been approached from a viewpoint it's a partnership working with Cheshire East Council, and there would be an element of funding for additional officers to carry out enforcement and waste education, and various other sort of ancillary supports like skips in particular areas, etc. Town Council agreed to contribute to or to cover the cost of employing an officer to support the project or to manage the project. Unfortunately, there is a delay in the Cheshire East project, so we're not going to be able to hit that quickly. So really, I'm looking to members to consider where you want to go next with this. There is potential to employ someone with a focus on particular aspects. They can't do everything, they can't replace the whole project, but they could work with the residents and focus on some of those areas where we had support before for the community to get the alleyways clean. We could look to additional budget or budget possibly to be clarified by Cheshire East to contribute to that for ancillary things like signage, equipment to support residents. But really, I need the view of members to help guide that conversation. We'll be having a steering group or a board meeting for Cheshire East, but this is your opportunity to have that say before it goes to board to help to guide the conversations.
I presume, Lindsay, that the £45,000 that we had in the budget this year, that's recurrent, isn't it? Because we've got it built into next year's
We have
as well.
there's a budget, yes. So the budget of 55,000 for next year,
okay.
and then a decision will be required if we were to carry the whole rounds over.
So, I mean, what I thought was perhaps sensible about this is, given that we've got the unspent allocation from this year, which we have to decide what to do with, but we've already agreed as a council that we're putting money aside for the Clean and Crew project for next year, which will sit there, won't it?
Yes.
And I guess what we ought to do is to await the further discussions with Cheshire East and what they're looking for before that recurring sum is allocated. But we ought to use the 45,000 that we've got this year now and do something with it which actually contributes to the objectives of the Clean and Crew project, on a non-recurrent basis. So, for example, the next 3 evenings this week, as you know, the bid are doing a deep cleaning of the Ruskin Road and Nantwich Road junction, doing a big tidy up. They're going to tackle the drainage issue on the outside the Holy Bull, because they're fed up of waiting for it to be done. And I think it's that sort of thing. We did that walkabout, didn't we, in the autumn, with Dawn Clark and the bid, and we were looking at the top end of Nantwich Road, how the opportunities to tidy up areas in a big way. And when you look at some of the, and this is dotted all around the town, of course, but just using the top end of Nantwich Road as an example, you've got an area where there's a huge amount of walking traffic and vehicle traffic, people coming out of the station, and we're going to invest with the mural on the bridge. But there's so many other areas around there which, quite frankly, look scruffy. Look dirty. The grids have been blocked. There's old broken stuff all over the place. And I just wonder whether we could use non-recurrently this budget to actually do some big hits in areas where that need substantial cleanups.
It says in this report, talks about options have been discussed, and the project board requested the costed set of options on which to provide use. And as it says here, We don't have a definitive proposal from Cheshire East Council in terms of their funding, so it's not possible to provide a proposal to fit the total budget of this state, and it's not any, and there won't be one. It's perfectly obvious. The other thing is, I mean, I'm not even sure the budget board is ever going to meet again, to be honest. I just wanted to wonder if there has been any progress. There was a sort of project board meeting a few weeks ago. And I think the upshot, if I recall right, was, you know, that they should go, that there should be a consultation between Cheshire East and ourselves, or specifically the Soul, to see what ideas they've got. So far as playing, and they haven't got any ideas already. Think about. But one thing that was suggested was that there's £55,000 of the budget for 26, 27, and presumably, or possibly, I assume beyond, because that will need to fund an office, won't it?
Yes,
Or at least that's the
the
intention. So there's a couple of possibilities. One is, I suppose, to use it as something within a year, as been suggested. I just question whether there was actually best to do that within the financial year. Anyway, but whatever we can do, if there's money remaining, then presumably it would make sense for that to go towards whatever the Clean and Crew project board turns out, Clean and Crew project turns out to be. So I mean, it's like a mix and match arrangement. There could be the opportunity to use it as we said, a non-recurrent one-off hit in the short run. I'm sure that would still mean there was money left over, probably most of it, to go into what to go in earmark reserve or something of that sort. So, you know, I mean, I think it's a good suggestion. You know, there's a possibility to have a spring clean in parts of the town, but quite how far you can go with that, I'm a bit don't know.
I agree with both of you. I think it would be good to utilise some of the funding this year and have an impact and, like you say, target some specific areas and do some tidy up. I also agree some of it should be carried forward to next year as part of an earmark reserve, because we've been having so many delays, haven't we? Myself and Lindsay met with Cheshire East last week. It's good to, you know, continue the conversation. They can't provide any certainty or clarity in terms of future budgets. We don't want to recruit somebody and then not have sufficient funding to then retain it, and it would be pointless to do it for a very short period of time. Given that assurance that it can be a longer term project, to be tangible. But I think, you know, perhaps a mixed approach, spend half of it this year, targets now, and then keep some for next year and then review it.
And if I may, I mean, yeah, given the fact we're at the end of January, it's going to be difficult to spend the money anyway before the end of the financial year. But I think the thought of just rolling that amount of money forward and us not actually getting any benefit, and who knows how long it will take, because Steve says before this is actually resolved. I mean, it's been going on now so long, hasn't it?
You know, the next project board you might have.
Council,
Yeah.
Council Morning.
Yeah, I agree with everything. I was just going to ask the question: if you were to use that funding, would you just use the Rangers to do the work? You won't get someone else short term. It's not worth it, is it?
It depends, to be honest, what you wanted to do. There are some things that would be within their remit and some which wouldn't. So anything like working on the highway would be very limited because they don't have Chapter 8 approval.
Right.
So it really would depend.
You still have to ask somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, if it was buying items for them to use, tools and equipment,
and you just get temporary labour to do the work.
Contractors.
Yeah, contracts. Right.
I mean, yeah, for me, I mean, what the bidder is they're contracting somebody.
That's the question I was asking.
Yeah,
are they worried about it?
And they've also set money aside, because we were meeting last week. They've set money aside to do a similar exercise on Queensway when the Royal Arcade.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Project is
how do you get?
And it's that sort of thing. I mean, we're going to be talking about the investment in Market Square, aren't we? And we've done deep cleans before in the past around Lyceum Square and places like that, haven't we? And it's just that sort of thing that needs a you know, a big hit.
I would agree with that.
Yes, councillor.
Yeah, I totally agree with Si. Yeah. Council law, let's call it, there is areas which need cleaning up, especially along Ipswich Road. Those drainage systems which come off of properties and come across the pavements are all blocked. And they're easy outcomes really. Shouldn't be too expensive to do. And that's the sort of thing we're looking at. Let's have a look and see what happens with Mill Street and how lovely that turns out. And then suddenly we come to this little area around Avanti, which looks really untidy, doesn't it? And it's not a finished project as far as I'm concerned until we've got what we asked for originally out the front of the railway station. But there will be other places in Crewe which we still need to look at as well. I like the idea of the flooding area, which has been a problem outside those shops at the top of Ruskin Road. There's also an area on Mountvich Road towards the railway station outside the Indian restaurant, which does exactly the same. And you know, those things are highway problems, which really we should be pressurising Cheshire East to be sorted out. But yeah, no, I'm quite happy for that to be a tidy fund.
Yeah.
A tidy up fund.
Is there a mechanism which members could make submissions to be considered? Maybe we could bring it back to the next meeting. We could put forward suggestions that we could consider together as a group, as a committee, and look at perhaps how much it will cost and the feasibility of it.
What do you think?
I'm concerned with that. That'll be the 3rd of March, and then obviously.
There's no reason why we couldn't throw in ideas, couldn't we? And see what there is.
We want to agree on one today, and then we cost it out, and then take
Yeah,
it
maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're thinking the budget and then
It's going to be
transfer it over
time scales.
March time. Yeah.
So just to clarify in terms of the noting side of it, are you happy with what you received in terms of council requests regarding to district sport first?
I think the guidance here is that we need to await that budget allocation or further notification from Cheshire East to back to discuss those elements. Is that what my interpretation is right? And to look at the unallocated budget for this year as a percentage of it at least to be used for some deep clean projects.
And
Yeah.
if I may, it'll probably mean as a agree that there should be a reserve because it'll run into next year, isn't it? But specifically for that purpose, doing whatever ideas we all come up with as a group, really. But so it'll run into next year because it's bound to.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
So I mean that amounts to it's a budget head that says clearly through the budget. Clearly through the budget is as long as a piece of string or a very short piece of string. So they will certainly need the recommendations of council or to look through the residue, whatever that is 44,000 to go into an earmarked reserve for further use. But we haven't yet determined what the clean food project consists of. So actually, if we use any of that money, I would have thought technically you'd say, well, we're wiring it, we're sort of transferring it to another use. So, we've got to say we've got a budget of £45,000 for deep cleans or anything else. See what I mean? This is a financial aspect. And then he finishes up. When he finishes up, then being a recommendation to council. So I think we're a bit hamstrung actually to make a decision about using it. Saying, well, let's go ahead. Let's put £10,000 into this. I suppose we could say pick a key figure anyway at random to say that of that X amount is for use on deep cleans or whatever.
If I can jump on the back of that one there. I think what it is, for me personally, I would say the fact that whatever we put forward as an idea, I don't think it's about a case of us suggesting a budget on a certain topic, on a certain idea. It's basically about putting the ideas forward to see what quotes you can get that fit. I also believe that when it comes down to the Clean Crew project, I think the money that's been reserved for it should be within the spirit of what it's intended for.
Yeah.
So that allows us to narrow down ideas as opposed to just letting it jump from line to line and effectively start interfering with other projects. Let's keep it within the spirit of that.
Of which,
Please.
if you don't like, was the alleyway projects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To see,
Yeah.
you know, we got to be very careful that
Yeah,
we're
this
not
one's
suddenly,
it's true.
although I love councillors' ideas, we've got to be careful that we're not suddenly diverting it and not concentrating on the original concept.
Besides, there is a preconception out there already of what this money's going to be spent on. Please.
Just a quick question about the weed spraying, which is part of the Clean Crew project. I think it was a separate budget item, wasn't it? But
Yes.
how will it all work together if the Clean Crew project doesn't go ahead as it was intended?
So
I mean, we'll be- weed spraying on the areas that we're not really doing anything with, unless we have separate projects. And I could certainly recommend some other ways where we could do so.
absolutely. So the weed spraying was carried out in the current financial year over last summer and autumn, and the budget line, as you say, is there for next year, and that was approved to carry that work on again in the Clean Crew areas. There are requests from residents for alleyways to be sprayed as well. They're not currently included in that plan, but there are. So it's the streets rather than the alleyways.
Yeah.
So it's in the budget for next year to spray the Clean Crew streets, or those that were proposed as a Clean Crew area, not the alleyways.
Okay.
So in that light, then, what do we think in terms of something for the clerk to start investigating costs to doing? Do we have any thoughts or ideas that we want to look at?
Some skips for an amnesty.
That was part of your discussions for
Yeah.
Clean Crew, like mobile skip.
Yeah.
The cost of a skip, LT.
Yeah.
I think it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one put forward.
So can we do that? Can we do that? So, any ideas or whatever? Just can we do that? You know, within the budget head we've got.
Absolutely.
Are there any other thoughts, just to give a bit more of a
I think so.
choice, or do you want to have about that kind of starter approach? As you said, there was always the money that we.
So I'm just going back to when we had our original board meetings, and we were encouraged to work with residents and nominate alleyways to clean up. And at least within St. Barnabas Ward, we had about 4 alleyways with people, residents were keen to actually do something and work on. So perhaps if we could look at a small project for one of them and maybe skip amnesties to try and help in the other areas. I know we can't tackle everything with a smaller scale down project, but at least we could try and.
I mean,
Put
it's
something forward.
because the alleyways, the selected alleyways for inclusion within the Clean Crew project. Well, each ward, each borough council across those 4 or 5 wards, south, west, central, St Barnabas, had the opportunity to put forward suggestions. That was done.
Yeah.
It is a question now whether a year later
Whether they're still interested.
whether people are still interested. So I mean, the borough councils for those wards know the areas that they would like to see done. I'm assuming somebody somewhere might even they've only been asked to tell someone. I mean, like James knows his sort of mind, the other, you know, Dawn and Brian and Ben and Marion, they know what they picked out. They might be sort of areas to target, you know, because there's about so many in each, 2 or 3 in each of those wards.
Yeah.
Just one other thought on that is that of course the clean up the alleyways was dependent on somebody running it, managing that.
That was the whole
We
point.
haven't got that.
No.
So, which is why I was thinking basically we will need to contract with somebody
Yeah.
to do something. Because we haven't got the officer time
No.
or the bod that this money was going to pay for
Yeah.
to manage it.
That needs to be
Oh,
considered
well,
when it comes down to finding quotes.
Yeah.
Can we contract anything from Cheshire East? Like an additional ranger for a period?
I think it would be cheaper as a contract. It's 10
Yeah.
Not for money.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see who the big are using to do
Yeah, the big.
their deep cleaning exercise.
Yeah.
That's from what they're doing.
There are
Well,
some.
I think we ought to be mindful of what we do with this, because I wouldn't like to see Cheshire East, for us to do a project and then Cheshire East go along and something goes wrong somewhere else in Crewe. Cheshire East suddenly decide, but if we leave it long enough, we'll be all right, because Crewe Council will tidy it up. You don't want to be setting a precedent, something that will do.
Yeah, but we've always
So I wouldn't like to see it bounce and then it end up being in our pockets for us to end up going around tidying up the whole Crewe. You can pick any way you like, and they say yes, it's all right because they did Nantwich Road X, Y, Z. So they're all complaining somewhere else. If we leave that long enough, Crewe Town Council will tidy it up. I wouldn't like to see that happen.
Clark.
I totally agree with you. I think it's always a risk, isn't it? But if one of the biggest troubles that we have is getting people to engage with us and having that community support. I think the only way we do that is to take action and then hopefully try and bring people on board and engage with them after that. So that if we clean it up, then they can work with us and we'll take that first step.
Which was the whole thing about setting up the town ranger service in the first place.
Yeah.
Because that was a reaction to the fact that we could get nothing done in Cheshire East.
That's right, yeah.
And the only way of getting any improvements in the town was basically take it on ourselves.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
And it's important when you say that. Yes. The resident engagement. There's only Crewe South where there is any kind of infrastructure. For instance, South Alleyways number 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
Where there's people involved. People involved and no doubt can tip people off. And even if it's something as simple, saying, well, next week or the week after there's going to be a skip or something, or a weed spray. But that sort of engagement is definitely is direly needed in the other wards. Actually, to take place and take advantage of those. To take advantage of the willingness of people to do stuff. And there's lots of willingness out there.
You just need that resource behind it to get it going. So they start get rid of it themselves and they need a bit. That's all behind it, I guess.
Right. So, Clark, is that good for you to work with on that point? Then? Is that all right? Yeah. Okay.
Can I see clarity what
Yeah, exactly.
Please, just so we know where we're at.
In terms of doing an highway project, we're doing it at this time of year anyway. We're thinking of where the budget runs in the financial year. We'll probably be looking at springtime.
But could we just post something like the possibilities of resident engagement and in cleaning up their local areas or something like that, be investigated on the possible cost implications of related matters like waste tips. Something like that. Basically saying you should go and have a look at it.
What I suggest is that one, we look forward to having a settlement with Cheshire East about the development of this project in the new financial year.
Yeah.
2, that the 45,000 is converted into a reserve.
Yeah.
That we examine how that can be used for one-off projects meeting the objectives of the Cleaner Crewe project.
Yeah, that's good.
Right.
So, with that proposal, can I have a second?
Yeah.
Right. And is everyone in favour of that approach?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Thank you.
Is that good enough?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Thank you for clarifying.
I'll watch the playback tomorrow.
There is a point 2 on this item as well, which is to request that F&G approve allocation of any unspent Tesco Stronger Starts grant of £500 to an earmark reserve to meet grant obligations in 26-27.
So just to clarify, this is a bit I would have moved on to. So we have a grant from Tesco to support alleyways. The amount is £500. It was awarded late in the summer and has to be spent by next July. And as I've always said at meetings, that money, I suggested we waited until we'd got the priorities and used that money to support resident groups. And £500 won't make a huge amount of difference, but it will help. So at this point in time, as we're not running the Cleaner Crew project, unless we have another use and particular alleyways that you would like us to allocate the funding to, I would suggest that we just hold it back and try to spend it in the new financial year.
Yeah, okay.
It is a grant and we've received the cash for that particular purpose.
Yes, do you vote on that?
Yes?
So someone to propose, please? Thank you.
Oh,
Second?
Is that, hang on,
Sorry, yes.
is that wording? Are we saying it's to request the F&G committee to approve allocation or such?
Yes.
Yeah, the F&G was made.
Sorry.
Just final.
Or council? Yes.
Or council.
Would you prefer if I just said council?
Yeah.
Which comes first? Which happens first? Does it matter?
I think council will come first.
Well, can F&G meeting before the next council meeting, you know?
So it's clarification on what F&G means. That's the thing. In this case.
Well,
Suppose it's whoever meets first. I imagine that F&G would turn around and want to refer to council anyway.
But in that case, amend that proposal to request that the council approve that allocation. That's what is needed.
Thank you. It's okay, council.
Yes.
Council approves.
So we had a proposal. Obviously, there's just been a slight amendment. So can I have a proposal again?
I propose that
Yep.
we request council to approve allocation next session.
I'll
Seconded.
second it.
All right. Yeah, that's fine. All right. And all those in favour?
Yeah.
That's unanimous. Okay. So now for allotments and assets.
Right, so allotments and assets, so that's allotments and railway cottages in this sense. We have a £10,000 budget, of which £1,800 has been spent on tree surveys. Within those tree surveys, there were some recommended allocations or recommended actions, fairly light touch to cut back some hedges and trees. We had a recommendation or a request from Henry Street to have their hedges reduced. There's a 90-metre stretch of hedge which is way above the height that they can tackle and it requires mechanical cutting. We've had recently tried to get the hedges on Ruskin Road allotments along an alleyway cut to some extent. That's been successful, but the height is still quite difficult to manage. In some areas the tractor could not even get to, so I do need a quote for that. Committee had approved £3,000 delegated decision to use that budget as required for allotments, but just looking at the total amount, it's adding up and it's more than the £3,000. Therefore, in order to get this budget spent before the end of the year, and whilst we still have no nesting birds for those bigger elements, I'm requesting that you just approve that the budget is or delegated power to myself and the chair and Clark to finalise that priority list for use of budget this year.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Any questions on that?
No.
So is someone to propose? Second, and all in favour? So I realise there's but it's opposite. So we're going back to 3.7 for the next one, placemaking. So
3.6.
and 3.6.
Right, so placemaking. Aha, this is where I have to try to presentation for you.
3.6 CCTV.
I was going to say it's
So, well, it's CCTV. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I don't think we have any approvals on this, but just to let you know that CCTV, we've had some real successes recently, and I thought was it good to share with you. Obviously, the town council supports or pays for the management of a lot of the cameras in Crewe. You have a report in the appendix covering the use so far this year. But in addition to that, they've been instrumental in identifying criminals. 2 people involved in a burglary of farm foods have already been charged. They were arrested and charged, and that was down to the work of the CCTV operators, going back through footage, identifying individuals, finding them before they put masks on, tracking some people walking virtually from their property into the town. And it was over a few days and different incidents that they managed to string that information together. In one case, they were even able to inform the inspector that one of the accused was actually in town at the time, and that person was arrested at that time. And I thought it would be good to share that sort of news with you. And they have been extremely helpful with various issues over recent times. I think that's all I needed to let you know on that one.
Thank you.
I think, Chair, one of the other things with this is it's showing the difference that investments in CCTV are making. But I think we're really fortunate at the moment that we've got a management team in the police locally who are massively into responding to what residents want. The increase in the number of criminal behaviour orders that have been issued in the last 6-9 months has meant that a large number of regular villains have been taken out of the equation, and we're getting now to the stage where criminal behaviour orders are actually going into really fine detail about where people can go and where they can't go. And if they break the criminal behaviour order, they're out. And I think the difference that is currently making in terms of the sort of neighbourhood level crime that Crewe has been suffering from in the past is really starting to improve now. And I think the contributions that we make by funding CCTV programs and things like that, you know, we're now getting the response from the police to the information that is given to them, which I think is great news.
Thank you. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Placemaking.
Placemaking. Right. So I've got a bit of a slideshow here for you. Excuse me, this is a little bit rushed, and I'm not used to using this equipment, but still was going to give us a little bit back. Oh, it's not very good, is it? Right, I'm really sorry, that's as big as the image can go. So the first thing I want to talk about is Market Square. I sent out an RFQ, a request for quotes, for a supply of new street furniture to raise the image of Market Square, which at the moment has a real mixture of items of street furniture, as you all know. So this is Market Square, as we know it, bordered by Delamere Street, Market Street and Queensway. And I'm just sharing a couple of images from the RFQ in order to elaborate. And these are some images of the street furniture that exists. So a real mix of times and dates and periods and styles of street furniture. And there are some items there that are fixed into the ground, and I wouldn't want to suggest that at this time, when we don't know what the future of the developments of the town are going to be, that we start doing anything major. And therefore we were looking at those sort of more cosmetic things that we could do to improve the look. So within request for quotations, I identified the area and what we already have, and also asked for suppliers to look at helping to sort of close in those spaces a little bit. The space is used by the public, it's used for the market, but also for events. And therefore asking them to look at ways we could make it a little bit more enclosed and without having to invest in high security, but at least it might minimise sort of vehicle encroachment onto the square. I also looked at areas where we might be able to enhance the seating, as we discussed at the initial meeting when we agreed to this. There are benches there with backs, but not many of them. So anyone who's got any mobility issues will struggle to get it on and off the majority of the benches which don't have any backs. Also looked at some of the extra spaces that we might be able to enhance. Here are images of existing or new street furniture. So there's been quite a lot of investment in the public realm, and to try to join these together. We have the new space outside the courts and the history centre. We've got the Southern Gateway as well. And then we also have Lyceum Square with that very colourful, closer to the sort of brand colourings. So we received a number of submissions. The closing date was on Friday. Councillor Murray and I went through the submissions yesterday and shortlisted, really. So there were a few that weren't really up to our requirements or were completely outside of budget. So I'm now just going to show you these with the view to get a steer for how you feel about the submissions. I think there's a lot to go through and there's still a bit of work to do on pricing. So my preference would be, if you have something that you particularly like to say, but otherwise I would rather we then have a bit of a steering group and come up with the final solution if you're happy, just because there are so many variations on. You might not get the best decision with the time you have tonight to consider. So this supplier has a range with metal edged finishes, if you like, and hardwoods, and a palette of colours that we can apply. As you can see here, you've got all sorts of different planters and groups of planters, but we really like some of this combination of wood and metal. It seems to reflect that sort of engineering feel of the crew. And there's also scope then to apply any personalisation or to use some brand colours. Another supplier, Broxap, actually mapped out the area and recommended more than we could manage within the budget, but the costings were still competitive. And their products, if you see here, we've got metal planters and benches which can attach to a planter, and that was something which is common across all of them, which again avoids having to put fixings into the ground and make these permanent if they're attached to planters. And then Furnitubes, again, similar. This is where we need a little bit more time just to consider, but they can produce, again, metal planters of different finishes from Corten steel, which we were feeling wasn't perhaps the best choice. There is Corten in town, but it can stain the surrounding pavings, and also perhaps there's an opportunity to add a bit of colour and go for a powder coated or sprayed finish. It's very nice bench combinations. And if you consider, making safe spaces for girls, the campaign there to have some curved benches or benches where people can face each other and talk rather than just sitting in straight lines. Or even something interesting with the round planters but facing outwards. And this was a combination which is suggested for that corner outside the old M&S building, so you'd have the planter and some seating. There's an example of the sort of colour palette that can be used, and some of the benches with backs and with armrests. And this is quite a theme. They're quite modular now. All the pieces of street furniture. This is slightly more traditional. The planters, there are options of hardwood, and they're the planters that we have on Market Street now, or a more modern version with these metal rails, as you can see. The planters have worked well. We've had them in a few years now. These have a self-watering option, self-watering system, which does make it easier to manage rather than just relying on getting enough water into a container, you know, on a particular day. At least this creates a well, and you feed the well and it wicks up through towards the plants. What I would say is we weren't quite sure about the benches.
Yeah,
a bit
benches
traditional.
They're a bit too traditional. Yeah.
But that might be an option, and it's certainly well within budget. Might be an option to look at a combination. This was the other version with, again, the opportunity to use branding, which could go on either planter or telling a story, branding or telling a story. Crew.
And presumably, does that allow sort of other artwork as well?
Yes.
To be built in?
Yeah. So this particular one, the suggestion, which we can produce ourselves or through the supplier, would be for a long-lasting Fomex with a good finish on it. And they're just literally screwed into the planters, so you can change them quite reasonably cheaply, actually, as often as you wanted. This is Floria, this is MM City, and two that we landed on really as the favourites, these metal planters with different strips in, and then the ones which are more like a slatted design with a metal planter underneath it. And again, demonstrating some fairly easy to install benches, and again a nice hardwood finish with a metal, and also with different colour options. So the one on the right shows the sort of colours that could be incorporated if we wanted to do that. My only thought, if we go for lots of colours, is we may have to move things around in the next few years, and that's just a word of caution that it'd be great to create some character on the square, but then we have to think about if we're moving items. But if you want to go for it, you could always move paint. And that's their option on a curved bench. And then we go to street design. Again, lots of coloured metal, lots of options there on their planters, round or square. And again, the benches, this is where it becomes a little bit of a mist, but the designs are really, really nice. Okay. Then we have Woodscape, and these are the three items they've proposed. So a bench which we could have just to the, just as a straightforward bench with a back, or could be extended, and hardwood wooden planters, which we thought were very similar to the idea around the bus station under the trees. And here is it's a cube, seated cube. We didn't ask for that, but I did ask for any creative suggestions. But also that demonstrates the opportunity to have branding on the products as well, so you could apply that to planters as well. And that's etched out, carved out, and then painted. And then I think we've got this one box up. This is another one from IOTA. I have to say that the submission was basically the planter with the bench. So without questioning that further, I'm not sure that there's a great deal of mileage in that. And finally, Amberol, who supplied a lot of products for the town council in the past. This is their option, which is a combination of planters and can be converted into benches as well. And that's using a plasticized product, which we weren't quite sure had the right feel for the square. It's such a big, important square. We didn't think that for that particular location it was right. And I think that's it on the Market Square.
So to open up to the
What sort of time scale are you thinking about here, Lindsay? Because obviously it'd be great if we could tie this into the Royal Arcade
project coming to
It
conclusion.
would,
wouldn't it?
yeah. So the shortest lead time was about 6 weeks,
Right.
and the longest was about 12. So we're talking 3 months.
Right.
If we were to make a decision, you know, in the next 2 weeks,
Yeah.
10 days, something like that, then we could place an order and go ahead. But that would be subject to, you know, approval to go ahead.
Are we going to make a decision based on what we've seen?
I think at this.
So what we've got in here for today basically is to either indicate a preferred option or delegate selection of them to steering group or committee members and officers.
Right.
So it's basically to give an idea of where we want it to go, but to have separate group side.
Fine.
Can I start that conversation off? I think Lindsay's already covered the area which I would be looking at. Normal benches of what we've got there now are very individual, and we need to be looking at those communal benches which we can be sitting either opposite each other in a closed space and talking as a community as a group. We see a lot of this happening in Crewe nowadays of people just chatting away on the corner of the street or something like that. Let's give them something to sit down and actually face each other and talk.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, you know, the safety bit issue as well for women and girls is very crucial with being open in that space. So let's go for that.
It's a good steer, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think I like the idea of having an opportunity to have artwork that we can tie in with whatever we want to tie in with. Certainly something we can actually reuse or go back to and update. That would be a nice one of doing it, rather than just something very permanently there, which then, like I say, just sort of over the years will then become old compared to where we want it to go. So I think artwork placements on things would be a good thing.
Yeah.
Could have some artwork on there that you could replace when it comes to Christmas or something.
Yeah.
You could replace the panels.
Yeah.
Christmas decorations.
Yeah, of course.
It could either be spring, summer, and autumn, and winter. You can replace them panels, and then they can be used again the following year.
It gives us scope as a council to utilise it to really enhance the town whenever or however we wish, as opposed to just being a permanent thing done. We can't touch it for decades. Is everyone outright for it to be we're all talking about various ideas, unless something left out on anywhere about a particular point. Is everybody happy for this to go to delegated to a steering group with our guidance?
Yeah, definitely.
So on that note, does anyone else got any other guiding ideas or what they've seen? We've got those sort of 2-3 principles we've come up with.
I agree with the principles just been said. Yeah, the facing and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going forward for the town. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Do you need us to vote on that for the committee?
Well, if I just sort of clarify, so to delegate this to a steering group and for the group to consider these preferences for artwork, which can be changed, communal seating. That's
In terms of maintenance, if it's hardwood, would that be something the Rangers could sand down and revarnish as needed to keep it looking great?
It is, and to be honest, the majority of those hardwoods don't require anything. You can stain them if you like, but they don't have to be treated. Some of them do, but that would be
The
within
majority
their
of hardwoods tend to darken, get right. You'll have a bright colour at the start, but in 5 or 10 years' time, it'll be a lot darker. And each year it'll just get darker and darker. So your colours really change through the year.
So thank you. I've skipped.
Do you need the members of the steering?
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, that's good.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Were you going to seek volunteers again? That's what you're like.
Well, yes.
Do we have any volunteers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got enough for it. So.
So that's Council Chloe.
You guys can always feed into us, can't you?
Yeah.
What's the same?
Not just one road.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's that one. I've skipped one, unfortunately.
4 members then.
So I've got Kevin, I've got Tony, I've got Alan, yourself, and James.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Are you on that as well?
No, James is it? Sorry, no, I'm not there. That's fine. I was checking again. So,
So
yeah.
have I got everybody?
So it's Kevin, Alan, James and Tony. Yeah.
And yourself?
I didn't go into.
Oh, I thought you did. Sorry, I'll take you off then.
We have now.
Did you? Oh, you volunteered. You
Tony,
Yeah.
You just making it make it too big. We might as well make a decision now.
Yeah, well, I have a quick meeting, so I'll make it down.
Steve, you recognise you've got as much artistic drive as I have. Yeah. Yeah.
I think all 4 of you.
Yeah, it will be.
Yes.
Will be.
That's all.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you
Led
very
by
much.
Kevin, of course, as already done. Sterling work on this matter.
So, okay.
So we'll go backwards. Sorry about this. It's so much to go through. I'm trying to be as quick as I can. So if you look also at Hill Street in the appendix, which is on page 26, 24. Gosh, the out of order. 25.
Yes.
So this is in earmark reserves to create a suspended display over Hill Street. We received proposals which the steering group discussed. Are we all right?
Yes.
So we discussed last summer, and I do apologise for this. With everything else that's happened, I've just not been able to go back. Well, I did go back to this. The steering group wasn't quite happy with the proposals that were made. So there was one supplier. There were 2 proposals. One supplier came above the other. The other proposal didn't seem to be too practical. It required a lot of suspension, a lot of things with wind resistance. Again, still listed buildings. So I was asked to go back to the supplier, and they came back with some initial ideas, and then went to their supplier in Greece for some ideas as well. So we're talking about some bespoke shapes. So the initial proposals were for illuminated suspended display, and the shapes that they put forward were flowers and butterflies, which were not in the brief. We asked for something tree-based. So came back with some more ideas, which were for birds. So we asked for eagles and swifts. We didn't ask for pigeons, but they're in the proposal as well. And also we asked for anything related to the use of the area, so the theatre, the arts, music, trains, cars, etc. And these were the shapes and ideas that they came back with. Subsequently, the supplier then has extended their range, and they have a whole catalogue of more generic shapes. Quite frankly, I need your view on whether we pursue this, whether you'd be happy to pursue this with any of the generic shapes or with any of the customised shapes to provide that display.
I mean, I think considering the street that we're talking about, we ought to try and it's right in the middle of the lead into the critical water. We ought to be doing something which links it to, you know, the Lyceum Theatre, the type of activities that go on in the Lyceum Square, now the entertainment that's provided in the Market Hall. So that sort of cultural, you know, theatre, music,
I agree.
that sort of thing, I think is the ideal.
Especially if we're going to do what we're
The town of culture stuff, exactly.
Yes.
Stuff that we get asked to do that.
Yeah.
Put in a bid for that.
Yeah.
We definitely need that sort of art.
Yeah.
And cultural thing. Well, yeah, the designs for the theatre lasts musical instrument.
Auntie and well.
We still haven't got the palettes and the paintbrush.
I'm not quite, yeah, I've got palette and paintbrushes. I'm not quite so sure about the airplane. That's kind of issue.
Well, it's supposed to be Spitfire, but it doesn't look like a Spitfire.
Sorry, secretary, councillor.
Well, can't say I'm sure it was garish. To me, I think there was a comment somewhere about being sort of suitably. So someone, as Simon said, without any sort of visual artistic sense. To be honest, I'm not struck by anything that's been put forward there. But if there's a steering group that has been working onwards, I would have thought perhaps those who took part in the steering group, they're perhaps better places to comment. Do they want to go forward or not?
I have 3 questions because it obviously was decided before I joined. How much was the cost? That's not seen.
So the budget was 16,000.
How long will it last for? How long is it going to be displayed?
So the RFQ was to last for I think 3 or 4 years, so that it could be taken down and put back up again. So it would interchange with the Christmas lights display.
That was my third question. So we've had to put some more bolts and stuff like that and pay for the infrastructure. So I didn't know if that would affect. But yeah.
No, it's just using existing infrastructure in the street with bolts and stuff. So these will come down the Christmas lights.
I think it's important that I do agree with everyone saying that it needs to reflect theatre, the work, the art, the activities that go on in the area. Absolutely. But the other CEO I would say is about it to make sure. I do agree. Looking at the face of this, and you look at the examples that put on there, it does feel very cut out, what's up-ish. That very kind of almost like
Blue Peter.
Very yeah. It's come across. I just want to make sure we're starting to look at it is looking at the quality of it and not to overpower it either to the point where it overwhelms what we're doing. It needs to be a suggestion of something, not a I'm ducking and diving because this thing's so big so much.
I think it's nice. I think if we are looking at town culture, we need to have more art installation and stuff like that. And do something like is there, like you're already sort of clear the course, and you're having masks or something that symbolises that you're entering into a.
Yeah.
That's
what it means. Yeah.
The mask idea was very good.
Yeah.
All sorts of different faces,
Oh yeah.
to reflect the.
If I remember right,
I know.
If I remember right, the steering group said, we weren't going to go with the flowers and the bar. So the option would be to try something more not necessarily cultural, but more to do with the town. But I think we're beginning to feel now that it needs to be cultural, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Which I'm quite okay with. Now, a lot of these installations you see abroad, you do see a lot of these installations up streets abroad. Okay,
you do. Yeah.
Okay, it might be a different climate in some areas, but I think that street just there could probably withstand the elements, and why not have it portable enough to actually take down massive. I'm going for it because I know how much we need stuff like this in town.
I don't think it would look amazing if you chose the right thing. It would look amazing.
So what we have here, we've got basically 3 options that have been put to us. Option 3 is to abandon the project. Now I'm getting the impression that that's not what we're talking about here. So option 1 is to work the steering group to progress with one of the proposals in the budget, which we've been talking around right now.
Yeah.
Just so everyone's aware, there is another option on the table, which is to re-advertise for a different proposal.
Different supplier.
If one of these suppliers can supply what we've got on paper here, I'm quite
go for that. Yeah.
So we're happy then with option 1, which is to work with the steering group to progress with one of the proposals in the budget. Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you vote? With the steering. Is everyone happy with it?
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great. That's lovely. We're getting there. Thank you. I was just going to that time.
Who was on the steering? Was I on the steering?
Yes, you were. Yes.
Alan, Kevin, Jane,
Oh,
and Tony.
It was. So I had to go back to them. We didn't have a meeting again until the autumn. There wasn't time to.
I think
to
I must have been
elaborate
away
on
on
that.
that one because I was in Poland. It was autumn time.
No, I would have brought it back in the autumn, but there wasn't.
Oh, I was going to
time from
say, yeah.
receiving everything
Oh, I
to
didn't
go
get
back
that.
through that.
Right, okay, yeah.
So
Yes. Do you want to wait for Councillor? We're getting towards the end of this.
yes, nearly.
Yes.
Beautiful
Station. I'll just bring this up.
Yes.
I'll just describe the background. So,
Right.
So-
So yes.
we have an artist obviously appointed to do this work. Just as a quick reminder, he came to Crewe, he's done some work, he came up with 3 proposals, which then I put out to committee and steering group. There are 2 steering group members from Cheshire East Council, who's Helen, who's the cultural economy manager, and also the assets manager, because it's the bus station is their asset. So these were his initial proposals, out of which Crewe's bus journey seemed to come up the most popular, and people like the idea of the welcome to Crewe. We also talked about colour scheme, and there was some support of the colour palette as the bright colours, but there's also some opposition to the brighter colours as well. And I fed back everything to the artist to have a look at. He's come back with a new proposal, or he's got 3 options for further discussion, and he's happy to come and meet us again and have a call, etc. So I wanted to show these to you tonight. So this is option A, which is exploring using the welcome to Crewe, and he's based that on the town council branding.
Yes, I know.
So that's, again, he was looking at the more grown-up colours, and the appreciation of the cogs with the welcome to Crewe, and that's his set of options there. Then we have this option. Option B is more muted. There's an option there to use more grey and go back to the sort of more metal-y look of the exterior artwork.
Okay, more interesting.
But within that you've got this welcome, but also you've got this journey, the Crewe journey, if you like, bus journey, with highlighted spots, points of interest. And he's also obviously asking for any views on which areas you actually want to have on there. So he's looked at the park and those sort of the points that we would normally think of, Christchurch, etc. We've also got some new buildings coming up. So we've got the youth zone. We don't know what else. We've got images of that, and we've got the history centre coming forward as well. So it'll be an opportunity to look at. And then option C, which is more colourful and goes, well, it could be more colourful or less, but goes from top to bottom, so fills the whole.
I think that's
That looks nice. I don't know, it's not really a bit close.
looking at that centre
Can I just have another look at this or plastic?
It is really difficult.
I have a fear of getting up off the bus and then being hit in the face with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe the top one's too
The second,
bright.
I think the second one's better.
I do. Close up. Second one's better. Yeah.
The second one on
That's
this.
The one with
Yeah,
the colours.
this, because it's scrolling on the bottom on this one, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yes, it's got little bits.
Yeah, that's better. I think that's a bit too much, probably.
Yeah.
This one's alright because you've got a bit of colour there, but that might be a bit too mini phased.
The top one's too.
Yeah. Too busy.
Yeah, I like the steel kind of.
I do.
approach.
But I like the fact that he's put some colour.
Yes, it
Because otherwise it'd
it,
be bland, isn't
it
it?
pops out those
Yeah,
interest
exactly. But
points.
that's quite nice what it's done on the bottom. It's much better than the previous design.
The first one, gives me the impression that you're getting off the bus and going into cruise station.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
two
it's
stops,
two
two
stop.
clinical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So option one.
No,
not
no, definitely not. No.
So
No.
Come on, Steve, you must have a view.
That one.
Of
That's
that.
option
So-
sorry.
The great one.
The grey one.
That one doesn't look as
No,
like.
no, I don't like that. No, look at
Okay.
close up. No,
I think the full
the
wall.
third one's
The full wall.
Did like,
Doesn't it?
the third one's better.
such as.
It's really interesting.
It's actually the
Look close up.
It shows some of the features of Crewe.
Yeah.
I think that would be good, you know.
Yeah.
You've got all sorts of things, you've got Heritage Trail,
yes.
the one thing, you've got new builds and all sorts.
The
Yeah.
third one's really
I
good.
agree with that.
The third one's really good, I think.
So to bring it back into just making sure that everyone knows everyone has a say
Yeah.
on what's happening here. Do you want to do it as a show of hands with ABC? We all agree with the fact that grey is better than the lab colours.
Yes.
Yeah. With option A is now we've decided not. So it's between B and C, which is basically either full wall or half the top.
I think the half. Me personally, I like the half. This one. The half.
The bottom
Yeah,
two.
the bottom.
So this is the one that goes full.
That one,
It's full decorated.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, but it's grey in the bottom, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one I want. That what I want. I mean,
It's still a high
It's
So that's not
much better.
Yeah.
And this was the absence of anything on the bottom.
Yeah.
That one.
that one's better. Much better. It's like it's
So-
interesting.
In that case, just as a show of hands, who's in favour of this one, grey, straight from the top to the bottom?
As long as we're going with that mix of the older buildings and the new buildings within the corporation, because when
Yeah.
you get off that bus, you might be wanting to find out where the box, where the youth zone is, where the heritage section is.
Great.
Yeah.
So definitely going with option C in grey.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. So on that basis, if that's the approval,
Yeah.
I'll go back to the artist. I'll also arrange a call, which you're all welcome to join, to just go through that a little bit more discussion, a bit more detail about any highlights, any areas that you'd like to cover,
Okay.
and then we can guide him then to come up with a final design.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sounds
And
good.
he will come back to do some more work with the community on those shapes and talk to them.
This is going to try and make down the park, was it?
Yes.
When he did the
Yeah.
park.
Yeah, he was at Queen's Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the heritage centre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really.
Great. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Slide this.
Heritage Lives. So, a couple of years ago now, we looked at public realm in Crewe and improvements, and one of the areas that we supported improving was the Heritage Light, which is listed, the 4 lamps or 3 lamps, which is actually 4 lamps, which is situated on Market Street. It is in a state of dilapidation. It is repairable. It took a good while to engage with Highways on this particular one because it's a heritage asset, but it's also a Highways asset. And it took some time for them to have the light assessed, and that would always have been a requirement to have it assessed for its condition and it's how securely it's fixed. They finally had a consultant approved to look at the light who recommended it needed to be taken out of the site to be restored, and they provided a quotation for repair as far as they understood, and there could potentially be additional costs. Since then, I've had nothing else back from Highways, any sort of indication of if this could happen. They also put it to conservation again, heard nothing back. It seems to be a very, very lengthy process, and I'm not even sure now that they wouldn't cover the cost themselves within Cheshire East as their asset. At this point in time, we don't have a budget allocated any longer to it. It was in an EMR, which was Town Centre Capital Project. We don't have that sitting there. therefore, my suggestion is that until such time as we have any further indication, I don't think we can pursue this project, and that we leave it in abeyance.
Yeah. Cheshire East just doing nothing. It's a familiar sort of story and it's very sad. It was only a suggestion, I mean, yes, I'd certainly take it out of the delivery plan to see what other proposals might come forward. But something that has occurred to me is the street lamps in Dorfwell Street, Beckley Street, I think they're quite ancient, quite old. Several of them anyway, which were in a state of dilapidation. In fact, they were so dilapidated, one or two, they were so dilapidated that they were parts of them literally held together with tape and stuff like that. Anyway, what happened on those? They did get renovated, but it was, I can't remember the name, but I remember the contractor that worked on the Royal Arcade site, can't remember their name now. They have a community fund, and basically that's how it's done. They pay for it, as far as I can recall, and you can at any time. I think that's
what's it in Bowland Curve.
Yeah, now they've got. But it just occurred to me that was done then, but again, got nowhere with hardware. People will remember late Councillor Brian Roberts was pursuing this vigorously. That's about 10 years ago. But it was done anyway when Boom and Kirk came along. So it was a business investment. Business supported it as a community item, and I don't know what the cost was. It just occurs to me that then this is the sort of thing where possibly the bid might be interesting. It would be certainly worth suggesting, if it's for nobody else, the Cheshire East, that why don't they consider elaborating with the business improvement district?
Yes, Councillor.
I mean, clearly, we haven't got any money to deal with this at the moment, and there's no point thinking about putting anything aside when there isn't anything specific to do. But a number of thoughts I had on it. I mean, one, we've got to try and do something which protects this heritage. Two, does it have to be on the site that it currently is? Presumably it wasn't originally. Three, is there any benefit to us if we were to take it on as an asset? Yeah, that's probably about it really. I mean, it's a shame. It just gets lost, the poor thing, doesn't it? Because of the state it's in, and it's
would be beneficial if the town council did take it on as an asset.
Whereabouts is it?
It's on Market Street. It's
where, opposite where Boots used to be, on the corner of Earl Street and Market Street.
Yeah, it used to be outside the Jubilee Gardens before it was built.
Right. Right.
I take it it's safe. It's not going to.
It's not going to. No, I don't think it is.
No.
It's been surveyed, and I'm sure they would have shut it off if there was any danger there.
I mean, what was to happen if we did take it on? What's the next step? Would you have to apply to Cheshire East, or what's the procedure like?
So,
because if it goes on, then there's still no further forward.
So the town council will be taking on the liability of owning a listed asset,
right?
And anything related to that.
But I mean, there are sometimes like we go into various. Like, can't it be shifted to one of the other committees, like other projects? Or could it come under something else where they've got spare funds to maintain it? Can't you?
Like heritage.
Yeah, like heritage. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I mean, I just wonder, given everything,
everything
that's happening in the town on the Royal Arcade side of things, and picking up Steve's suggestion about whether the bid would like to get involved in this. This is another example where if we can get something out from under the control or lack of effort about anything to do with highways, so we can do something about it, then so much the better.
Would it be possible for Cheshire East and the town council to come up with the funds between us? I mean, more likely we'd end up paying the majority.
Councillor Morgan, do you want to?
I was just going to say, you know, on the other committee meeting, there was that other budget, but what's it called? that we were talking about what we're going to.
Right.
Yes, the John McBride. Like what I'm saying is that's a. We were talking about what could we spend it on, what could be beneficial to Crewe, for example, and we sort of discussed that we had ideas about it, what would be benefit that we could look at instead of like spending the John McBride on something and then it's gone. Because we was on about people asking for that money to be used, but then there's no vision for the people, but there would be on things like that we could retain. So take it away from Cheshire East immediately because Lindsay spent time, got nowhere. That's just a suggestion.
Did you want to?
Yeah, proposal. Yeah, proposal. Actually, it's a proposal. Yeah, there you go.
I was just going to say, I think something just used on Friday to discuss potential assets into devolution, so I can preliminary raise it down.
Yeah.
That is what is recommended today. We have no idea in terms of costs for maintaining it though, so obviously or do you?
So the initial quote for repair, as far as could be seen, was £10,500, which was included in the original allocation that we earmarked for that.
But it is one of the only ones that's a listed asset, isn't it? One of the original.
Absolutely.
Is that just for the repair, or is that removing it and reinstalling it?
That was to remove, repair, and reinstall.
Right. So I suppose once we'd spent that, then the ongoing costs wouldn't be as much. So it's like we have to work out. It's an investment, really, isn't it? A long-term heritage investment. So actually, the maintenance won't be that much because once you've repaired it, these things do last more than a plastic version would or what the version would. So I don't know. We have to, as a members for the public and for the heritage, have that other consideration, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, the proposal could be something as simple as that. So yeah, we authorise, then propose that the town clerk or the officers discuss possible future transfer of this asset to the town council, and then report back.
Yeah.
So it might be good news. It might
Back
be
to us as well. That's at the time. We have
That'll be on the evolution agenda, won't it? That will.
So, in regards to the ask, it's basically to remove the project from the delivery plan, which is and then reconsider if a proposal comes from Cheshire East Council support its restoration.
But not forgetting the business about.
But we want to explore more than just. And what was to propose that? Second it. All in favour of that?
So technically, what are you putting there?
So we're basically about proposing the fact that we remove from the project from the delivery plan, and then we reconsider that if a proposal comes to Cheshire East Council to support the restoration. That's that point there. If they do that, we then look into restoration. So that's that one I wanted to clarify first, and then also beyond that point was then looking into the further opportunity to maybe to have the asset for ourselves. Which is a steer.
Right.
So item 7.
Right. Through this.
Yes.
So we are
Consider
looking.
matters related to the budget delivery plan for 2027.
Sorry, Chair, can I just ask things about where we are with the bridge art?
Yes. So Alex came to Crewe in November and did some work. We looked at all the dimensions, and he's supposed to be working on some ideas and costs. So initially we had permission from Network Rail to do the artwork on Nantwich Road Bridge, and then the Hungerford Road Bridge. So that's the one with the railings either side that come from the Hungerford Road roundabout onto Earl Street. But I do know at the time that the preferred bridge to tackle, because it's so ugly, would be the one further up on Earl Street. So subsequently, I've had a conversation with Network Rail, and they've said yes, we could do that bridge instead. So unless anybody is saying no, we really want to do the other bridge, that was the initial wish that we go for that bridge. I still need some idea from the artist on dates to come back and do some more work. I'm sorry, he did come back with some dates just before Christmas, but they weren't suitable. So we do need to get that organised.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, no, that's fantastic. So yes, so on that note, item 7, we should talk about 26.
Yes. So we have a budget which implies most of the delivery plan for next year. So obviously the budget is there in front of you, covering the normal things like CCTV and rangers, cleaner crew, which we've discussed in great detail, floor schemes, etc. There'll be another £30,000 in that budget towards play area improvements. So once I have received the report from Cheshire East Council on the condition of the parks and play areas that we are maintaining in the town, I will come back with something to give you some options. Would you like to invest this year, or would you like to look at something else? And there are a few ideas coming forward. For example, there is some match funding available as Section 106 funding for King George V playing fields and the park there, for example, which will cover the skate park, but we could look at the play area there. But to be fair, I think it would be better for you to see a nice breakdown of all of them really and decide the priorities. Then allotments and assets, I think that's very much down to how we prioritise this year, and then I'll come back in the new financial year and say these are the other priorities, or is there anything else that we need to spend on? And then in terms of regeneration, that placemaking budget, so if you remember, the budget was reduced from this year because there are so many things that we rely on Cheshire East Corporation, it becomes difficult to actually carry out the projects in a timely fashion. So you transferred some of that budget to allocate to use for weed spraying, and we put that under that heading of devolved services, devolved enhanced local services. So that takes me to look at proposals for a budget. So I've looked at the sort of projects that we've supported in the past, and these are suggestions really, just to get an idea for next year's delivery plan where you'd like to focus that budget. The suggestions I've put here are for more murals or artwork, bearing in mind we're applying for Town of Culture. Gazebos for the markets. Now this is something that Town Council offered to purchase some years ago when the transfer of the market was going out for tender. Once you got talking to the market operators or potential ones, it became quite complicated because they were talking about ground fixing or not ground fixing and all sorts of variations. I've recently had a meeting with the market hall, with the market manager who's trying to improve the outdoor market. It's proving it's not generating a great deal of money, and it's now subject to rates as well, so that's quite challenging. There isn't a big budget for them there. But if we're going to support the improvement of the market square, and we're also moving the makers market to a Saturday in line with the town market, which they support as well, my suggestion there would be that we actually fund some gazebos, which they have said could just be bog standard, if you like. There's 3x3 gazebos, but if they were styled with town branding, would just lift the image of the place when the market is there, and you can get the outdoor traders to use it.
Yeah, if I may on that, I mean, Nantwich Town Council did the same thing a number of years ago. You go into Nantwich when they've got their farmers markets on, and all the gazebos are Nantwich Town Council branded. So they must, I guess they've got a process for booking them and charging for putting them up and taking them down and storing them and all that sort of stuff.
It
but
must.
it just looks so much better than Market Square looks. When
Yeah.
you know, it really does.
On that, excuse me, there is a question. Got gazebos, where are they going to be stored? There's somewhere else, and there's a reference to storage space, essentially at Queen's Park. But that didn't touch it.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I apologise. So this would be for the market to manage. So we would buy the assets, and they would put them up and take them down and store them. Which obviously, otherwise, it would be pressure on our ranges to do that. The Queen's Park. Just going back to that Queen's Park containers and that storage, I still haven't had a proposal, so that's still awaiting further discussion, and I'll bring it to committee as soon as I can. So that's the market as a suggestion. So this is just a list of suggestions, and I'd welcome your views. The bus station, obviously, we're pursuing that artwork now.
You can incorporate it into it. Because the artist's work, which I did notice, is got a copy of the Queen's Park clock tower in it, and there would be no reason why there shouldn't be an electrical connection for a clock to go within that like this. We could have that one back from the Heritage Centre.
I think
there are 4 faces. The tower. They're massive.
I think the old town clock facing in that bus station.
Yeah. So my suggestion there would be to go for something more off the shelf, but with the ability to personalise it, just as we were talking about street furniture. During the consultation on the artwork, lots of people said there isn't a clock. We don't know what time it is, and some people do like to look at the clock. So it's just a suggestion there that we could look out.
Could we purchase in still paint on the wall and then that one proper clock on top of that, which is battery operation.
Well, I think we could, if we were defining it quickly enough for the artist to incorporate into his artwork, we could do that, or we could look to buy one to place in there, and have some artwork just to make it look to fit with the overall design. So that's another suggestion, and I've just put in some costs there. I've done a little bit of obviously checking out that, and £3,000 will pretty comfortably cover that with the installation. Then other suggestions, more decorative lighting. When we initially started putting in lights on trees, there was a bit of ambition to light up lots of areas and make those sorts of nice, pleasant routes through the town. So that could obviously be, scope to fit budget. In addition, going back to the market and the makers market and filling the town with, promoting things that fill the town. We could look at animation, as this committee has supported in the past. So paying for walkabouts during makers market or high days and holidays.
Very expensive, that guy
That's not you.
in the red suit.
Yes, yeah, you would say. Well, absolutely. Star. I don't know whether we could afford that particular. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that I'll do. I'm not like the mayor of Cheshire East who does charge.
And then we've got what have we got next? Or some other bespoke piece for the town. You could also look at more street furniture. If just follow on from the theme and extend into the areas that we've not covered, because we will still have a bit of a mishmash of street furniture in place. But obviously, you may have other thoughts, other projects that you'd like to pursue.
A couple of thoughts. One is, I think, given we've spent a lot of time tonight talking about how to improve around Market Square and with the Rural Arcade scheme coming and all that sort of thing, I think anything that we can build in that adds to just raising that whole area, because we've all been well in 6 months' time. We'll have something right in the middle of the town, which is a really attractive area, and with now the developer doing the Marks and Spencer building, and the other shops along Queensway filling up again. Now there's some real opportunities there. And the second thing is, I can remember a few years ago going back to my hometown, and they've done quite a lot of like metal structures, which were designs of things in the town that were relevant to the town, like the parish church, the train station, things like that. But they were dotted around in the main walking area of where the public were, and it was just other types of feature which were describing what the town was famous for,
So some kind of motif or something that.
Yeah, I mean, it's that was really on the back of a bespoke sculpture sort of idea, doing things which were not. I mean, I guess they're probably not expensive, but they're different elements which capture people's attention.
Colwyn Bay has some great installments which are for children, interactive children. So they're like great big pipes which you can run something along and make a noise and things like that. I think those are really good installments to bring families in. And it's on the cultural town thing again. You see, just the odd musical thing which they can do. Colwyn Bay's sea covers spent a lot of money. It's really impressive.
I've seen this, the one like one of these Farthing, the walk the way between Crewe and Nantwich, and you got the figures in terms of the history side of things. I've seen those on waterfronts. I've seen them being depicted in different towns with different representations of different people. Those kind of things. I thought it was kind of interesting, that kind of time, possibly.
Yeah.
So, what we've got on here is to basically approve or amend proposed delivery plan with particular reference to areas that guidance require. So, the 4 schemes are areas of priority.
Yes. So, apologies, I skipped ahead of myself. That's why I put the notes in. So we've got the placemaking budget, but also within floral schemes, there is some scope to make some further improvements. So I highlighted areas which you might like to support some improvements to. Whatever we do, if we increase the stock of flowers, that will cost more to maintain. So it would mean the following year, if we had a similar budget, we'd spend more on maintenance and we wouldn't be doing so much development. But that wouldn't be a problem. So Crewe Station and that whole Nantwich Road area hasn't had much attention. And it's a very grey sort of area, but it's an entry point to the town. So my suggestion would be that we look at that area and put some floral displays around the entrance to the station. Beard is supporting a clean-up and improvements in that area, and also they're cleaning areas of the rest of the town, and we could look at other spots like that wider area of paving around the top of Ruskin Road or the area between Geos, those sorts of improvements where we could enhance it with some planters and colour.
To this point,
the railway station used it from time to time. I can't remember. Years ago, they used to have floral. They don't have them now. So I remember, Alan might remember this, but do you remember Factory Bowling Roberts?
Yeah.
One of the we used to train like we can use that. But one of his duties later in his towards the end of his career was like watering the plants, apart from amongst many other things. And they had floral displays. To be honest, it's something I've missed. I suppose I've just not noticed. Because it's so long ago, I've just not noticed it. They used to be there. They were a feature. And so this is unusual. You don't see that many places. So that idea of hanging baskets and plants, that would be, if you like, restoring something that for some reason was taken away. So I think that's a good notion.
It'd be like everything else as well when you do not do it as a cost, wouldn't it?
I'm just aware of time. We've got about
Yeah.
5 minutes left. I've never done this before. I know we need to do it. As it proposed, a second, just to extend 15 minutes. Is that? Yeah. Proposed. Is everyone in favour? Just extend time. We may not need it, but I'm just allowing extension. 15 minutes. Is that okay? Yeah. Thank you. Sorry. Yes.
Floral displays by the railway station. I wouldn't suggest necessarily hanging baskets. Not like there's 800 to 1,000 fans coming off there on a home game, but yeah.
They were doing that 20 years ago.
I'm okay with installation of containers.
Well, we have to be mindful about having planters there that we don't turn into ashtrays and rubbish bins. That's a good point.
We do end up maintaining them. We even put signs in some.
As you said, that the whole area there is great.
It is, isn't
I
it?
mean, when the bridge arcs up, that will help. But it just the whole area just looks scruffy, doesn't it? You know, it's the public realm looks poor. The condition of the metal barriers
I mean,
is poor. You know, it's.
If we put planters there, I think we ought to put the solar planters that we have in the square. Same type of design that is in the square will be on there.
So the same theme.
Yes.
Yeah, continue to think.
Definitely.
And I do actually think they should reach out as far as Mill Street.
Yeah.
So it links in with
Yeah.
Scouts that have got doing with Mill Street.
I mean, the benches are up, don't they, there, or it's just
You have got
just
corridor, you have got corridor, you haven't got
It needs to
just
join up with the Southern Gateway, doesn't it? Needs to join up with the Southern Gateway.
Yes, definitely.
But it is necessary if that's pursued. It's going to be necessary to link up with whoever runs that station, whether it's that station,
Yes.
Avanti or it's Avance. And it's quite possible they've got some sort of manager there, maybe not manager, but a member of staff who deals with community management.
Yeah, they are bid members, and so we took the chance to have a quick conversation generally about improving the realm around there. When we did the White Ribbon Walk with the bid project manager as well. So there's a willingness to do that if the committee is interested in pursuing that. Then.
Probably meeting with the community manager tomorrow. White ribbons.
Yeah. I mean, they keep their eyes on what's going on. I just picked up incidentally that they've shown an interest, or they've heard about the whole topic. How did they do that? How did they find out the certain details from other parties? So they may well be interested in actually doing something.
So to bring it back to point, in terms of reference to areas where guidance is required, floor schemes areas of priority. We're happy about having a look and focusing on basically around the railway station and link it in with Mill Street and the walk.
Yeah, that'd be really good.
And in terms of placemaking projects, just to clarify, what's the steer for that guidance in terms of what people are thinking? You know, we've sort of highlighted and commented on quite a few things, but that we sort of stood out to us a little bit. I just wanted to get a bit of more clarity in terms of what we're thinking.
I mean, all these things that are suggested here, I think are really good. And as I say, if we think about it, about what can we do which just continues to develop that area, particularly that area around Market Square and the Royal Arcade. You know, so it's all coming together with the scheme that's being developed at the moment.
Would you like a bit? Would it help if I just put a bit more detail on some of these areas then for March, because it's for delivery in the following?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Would that help?
Yeah, because they're all very good. So it's difficult to just put it in one right now.
Is there anything that you think you wouldn't want to?
No, I think all we've talked about, I think it's important.
And also, as we know that, you know, because the bid are interested in wanting to invest to improve that area as well, it's, you know, they clearly will identify some resource that can be added to this as well.
Okay. Is there anything else you need from this?
No, that's
Not really.
So if the focus is on the arcade and Market Square, specifically the Royal Arcade, then that is one or two projects being handled by Simone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Item 8 is a member item. To consider lending support to YMC Cheshire in its discussions with Guinness Partnership in developing a play area in the Claughton Avenue estate.
This is mine, Chair. Right, so this came out of a meeting, town board had a meeting a couple of weeks ago. And one of the items for discussion was a presentation by Everybody Leisure about a number of things, including, of course, the development of Cumberland Arena. So one of the things we were talking about was the response that they are making to the Sport England report that came out last year about neighbourhoods and localities where there was an underdevelopment of sporting activity. The Sport England report, if you look at it, is really quite strange, because we're used to looking at information and statistics about things based on electoral wards. Sport England didn't do that. So they've identified Coppenhall as one of the areas of severe under-provision of sporting activity. Where is Coppenhall? It's half of Crewe, right? And nobody knows quite how they got to that, and there's some work going on about that. The point was, so Everybody Leisure are responding to Sport England saying you can come forward with proposals about doing things in Coppenhall, which encourage sport. Jill spoke up to say she didn't quite understand that, and there are lots of other localities around which have a problem. One of them being the Claughton Avenue estate. Okay. So after that meeting, I had a chat with Mark Hills, the Chief Executive of YMCA, whose place is just opposite the Claughton Avenue estate. And I said, well, what, you know, you must get involved in things around this estate, Mark. What's going on? He said two things. One, the YMCA have offered to Guinness lots of times in the past free access to residents to the gym that's in the YMCA. Two, the YMCA have continuously tried to get an agreement with Guinness about either taking on or leasing the green space in Claughton Avenue that the YMCA will then invest in and develop for sporting activity, which Guinness will not do. And they've said they won't invest in sporting activity there. So, but I think Guinness must be like Cheshire East Highways. It's something that rattles on and on and on and on, trying to get some settlement where the YMCA basically can have an agreement with Guinness to develop that space. And so what I was wanting to do was to try and pull together as many offers of support. And that isn't money. It's about saying, yes, we support you in doing this. To try and give the YMCA a bit more of a drive, and to try and get in front of Guinness the need for a settlement. And that's it. So there's no financial or other obligation on us other than supporting the YMCA in what they want to do, to develop the Claughton Avenue green space.
Certainly sounds sort of there's no downside
No.
at all.
No.
It's certainly very much in the interest of the area.
That
Yeah.
space, I mean, I don't really know very well. You know, that particular space has been a bugbear.
Yeah.
In all sorts of different
Yeah.
ways.
Sorry, can I just 1 second? Sorry, is it right? Just 1 second. Councillors, sorry.
Sorry.
That open space we have, Claughton has been a bugbear for decades. Literally, I mean, it used to be a football pitch.
Yeah.
And now it's just muddy area and grass, so it gets littered.
Yeah.
It needs some attention. It needs
Yeah,
to be used.
it does, yeah.
Councillor Pratt's trying to
No,
look
that-
for
no,
it. Is the open
yeah,
space
yeah,
just
yeah,
behind
yeah,
Rescue
yeah.
Road?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's it.
Great. So I think
I'm quite
that's
happy for
What
Yeah.
could we actually, what could we do then, more than what we talked about, Simon, like that's.
Well, really just to provide the support to the YMCA and to tell Guinness that we would hope that they would come to an
Yeah.
agreement with the YMCA about developing the space.
I'm surprised
Yeah.
Guinness aren't supportive though. You think they've.
yeah, they have actually supported a event on it
Mm.
with the YMCA.
Right.
And I think that's probably more where
Yeah.
Chris Hill's idea came from, that we should redevelop this area. And the people within the YMCA haven't got a green space like that. So
No, that's right.
it would be used
It would
by
be very
residents
useful.
as
Yes,
well
it's just
as
across the road,
tourists.
yeah.
So is the land actually owned by Guinness then?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
sorry, Lindsay, you want to come over?
Just to add to that, when we were looking at green spaces and play areas and prioritising Pebblebrook, we did identify there was another play area, which is off Claughton Avenue, which is not the best located of play areas now, but there is an under provision in that part of Crewe for play, any kind of active use, which may be contributing to all the to the health issues, etc., that we understand. So I did have a conversation with Guinness about that land, just to test the water to see if they would be interested, and they were happy to go and do some consultation. I didn't want to set any hairs running because we didn't have any decisions, but I think there is a willingness to look at that space, and it may be something that we want to, when we look at green space or at play area provision, you might want to add into the sort of consideration, if you like, whether it's on a more practical basis, if there's a willingness to do
That's the
something.
play area rather than the green space.
The green space
Oh, right.
rather than the play area.
Yeah, oh,
Excuse me, I think we ought to put this report to council so that we've got full council support for this.
Is that a proposal?
I'd say so, yes.
Yeah. Everyone second that?
Okay.
yeah.
Ready for council?
Yeah.
So to put right,
Full council. Yeah.
opposed to full yeah.
So, item 9 is to note the proposed date of the 26-27 committee meetings, which are the 2nd of March,
The 2nd of June,
2nd of June, 21st September, 23rd November, I see.
3rd of November, yeah.
Yeah, 3rd November, sorry, it's 26th of January 27 and the 2nd of March 27. This is for the committee meetings.
So that again.
I'll say that again.
So 2nd of June,
Yeah.
21st of September, 3rd of November,
Yeah.
26th of January 27 and the 2nd of March 27. Okay. And then also to propose the date of the next meeting for our committee on Tuesday, the 3rd of March, 26 at 6 p.m. Okay. Just all the meetings will close then.
Thank you.
Chair.
Stuart?